about to get into it. All right. So welcome to the very first episode of Business is Personal.
Thank you.
In partnership with byHER magazine.
Yeah.
And you here, editor-chief and founder.
Yes. In my fabulous home.
Yes. Monique Taylor-Yee Shui.
Yes.
I am over the moon to do this with you. I was really thinking about doing a series that covered the real stories, the candid stories about women in business, because I find entrepreneurship to be, one, a roller coaster.
Yes.
But two, a very lonely journey where a lot of people are just showcasing the highlight reel of Instagram. This is all the great things that we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I work with a lot of women who that's just not the case. Yeah. Even when you see the success that they have. And I'm going to get real candid with you from the jump, okay? So let me just tell you something. This is something you don't know. This is something you don't know. So once upon a time,
yes, I
found you online.
Yes.
And I was like, who is this person? One who has my name. Girl, listen, okay? Like, we Eminem now. But back then, I was like, no. I cannot have this woman who has my name, who has these two gorgeous, like, editorial daughters. Okay, you've got your hot husband, and the family just looked perfection. Okay, like magazine worthy. And then I saw you doing these things with AKA. You're an AKA.
Yes.
And I have an obsession with sororities and me and my husband, sororities and fraternities, because I never did that and I didn't know it was possible as a Canadian. Yes. So you got this going on. Then you're on City Line doing the expert. You're doing the clothes, the style. I said, this woman's life is perfect. She has my name. And this is like, I was really envious. I was like, what is happening right now? And I'm like at home, like trying to figure it out. And I'm seeing this. But like,
I am dying. Like, where did we first meet?
I honestly,
was
I couldn't
it
even
Black
tell
Moms
you.
Connection?
I have no clue. I don't even know. I think we just
I can't remember if it was either there or it was through, my gosh, I forget her name. She's a chef.
No, not Trudy.
No.
Listen, I don't know that many chefs. So like already, I'm like, I don't know that many.
LaTanya.
Nope.
Okay.
I have no clue, but I know like what I do when I get my sights set on something, I am relentless. So I was like, we will be friends because we are both Eminem. And I just loved your sense of style. And you know what the key thing was? Mm-hmm. I meet a lot of people because I make a point to do that. No one has ever said a negative thing about you.
Aww,
and to me, that's a testament to how you operate out here in the world, And I was like, well, then we have to be friends because she's also a good person.
Oh, thank you.
So over the years, we got a chance to like run into each other. And I remember being, I think I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. Yes. I run into you in the winters.
At home. Yes.
And we get to talking and you tell me about this idea.
Yes.
This idea.
And then you sent me a link.
This idea, what link did I send you?
You sent me a link about someone who also started up a magazine. I believe he was in Australia.
Oh my gosh.
And he had a podcast about
the way I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
And you were like, I really want to do this. Yeah. I really want to do this thing and I don't know and I'm thinking about it. And you said, I'll never forget, you were just like, I think the Black women's stories, Black Canadian stories need to be told. Yes. Why aren't we highlighting us? Yeah. So I would love if you shared, like, not necessarily just from that moment, but like, then what happened? Because we're here now. Yes. Like, this is launching. Yes. This is happening.
It is.
So what was happening with you in that were you waiting for the right steps? What was going on?
I think there was a lot. And I think this also happens with a lot of us in that entrepreneurial journey, especially if it's in a space, it's something that we love. So creating content, storytelling, but it was also a space where I almost felt like, I felt imposter syndrome.
Girl, been there, still there sometimes.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, you question, am I the right person to do it? And then, unfortunately, these thoughts came to into my mind. I'm like, I'm telling so many people about this. I'm like, is somebody going to take the idea and run with it? You know what I mean? And that's unfortunately something that happens. But also that thought process, like I needed to get rid of that thinking. Mm-hmm. thinking that, oh, I didn't go to journalism school. I have no training in that field. I shouldn't be doing this. No. So I really had to work through that. I had to do a lot of research because I also wanted this to be done right. I didn't want to just go.
You don't want to half-ass. You don't want some half-ass online magazine.
Right. I wanted to do the magazine justice. I wanted to do the community justice. So that was a lot of pressure as well.
That's a lot of pressure. You come from Toronto, girl. You know.
Right. It's a lot of pressure. And another thing, it's just me. And I can appreciate the community is very busy. That's why I'm doing this, because we're booked, we're busy, we're doing such amazing things. And so it's like, as I'm talking more about it, and people are then just volunteering their time. And some more people started volunteering their time and help and approaching me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's overwhelming. And that's another thing amongst, us Black women asking for help.
Girl.
Asking for help. And I am of the mind that I want to support our community, i.e., I want to pay for your work. I don't just want to go in leading with, can you do me this favor? Because that's a mentality, I think, in our community that we need to get past. We need to pay each other for what we're worth, not pay anyone else.
That money exchange, that energy exchange is real.
We need to do that. And so I can also appreciate that I'm funding this right now. So in reality, I can't pay everybody. So, it's just been a blessing to have the support. And now that the support and talking to people has been that motivation that, yes, I needed to get this done. And I set a date. And, we're in Women's Month now.
And we are in the month.
Just riding off even though Black History is not just,
in February.
Right, in February. We're just continuing along with it now. And so this is why I was like, this is the best time for us to launch.
It's that time.
Celebrate us.
It's overdue time.
Yes.
I remember you telling me that idea, and I never forgot it. I was like, okay, this is the thing. So when I saw you online put out the call for, hey guys, I'm looking for people who want to write articles, I was like, I'm not a journalist person either, but I see the juice in this. I'm like telling people, I was like, we need to come together if we want the stories we want told, then we have to be the ones to come out here and help you tell them, right? So I love that. And I know you're wearing many hats. You wear many hats. Geez, you wear many hats. I don't know how you do it all, but I would love if you shared a little bit, like some of your journey, like some of the hats you've been wearing and have worn that has you be this stylish, creative lady that you are.
So the style and the creativity, actually, I take it back to my parents, to be honest with you. My dad was a tailor.
I saw your dad at the dinner looking fly, okay?
Yes. My dad is a tailor, so that's, he knows how to make great quality clothes, and he knows how to dress well. And he's always, hit home to me, Monique, make sure your appearance, you look good. And then my mom, the same thing. You look good, you feel good. My mom, back in the days in like the 90s, if I said, oh, I'm going to a birthday party, I wanted to wear jeans, my mom would be like, we're going in jeans. And I'm like, what? Now look at denim, and
right?
You know what I mean? So, but I owe it to them, because that was the first experience that I had with ensuring that, I'm presentable. And then in terms of, I always loved art as a child. Always loved it. Always loved drawing, coloring, all that stuff. Art was one of my favorite subjects in school. And that carried along with me, but it kind of died out once I went to university, because I did art in high school as well. But then it was like, okay, now I have to start thinking about my future and what type of career path I wanted to have. And so, and I mentioned this at the dinner as well, that, the West Indian parentage had, a set of career paths that to flow into, right? And so I did go to university for business and marketing, graduated, and again, the creative side kind of faltered. And during that time, marketing was like in a different space. So I ventured off. I worked within the sports marketing realm for a few years, and then I got homesick because I was living in Atlanta for a couple of years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Okay. So I went to school in the U.S., stayed there after I graduated, and then I got homesick and came back home. And so I came back home actually with a transfer from working with the Hawks to transferring up here to working with the Raptors.
Okay.
So I worked there, and then I was like, okay, wanted to, I was more in like the sales marketing side of the team at that time. And then I had a career change and I ended up in the bank. I went back to school, did finance, then went to working with the bank. And so I was in that career path that fell into one of those buckets.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Just like the maze, the weave that it goes through. Because I'm listening to you talk about how you always loved art. And what was funny is my art teacher was trying to push me to go into fine arts in university. And it was the same kind of conversation with they're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Artists don't get paid. That's enough.
Yes.
Okay? What else do you got?
Right.
You know? And then it falls to the wayside. Yeah. You end up, I'm going to say you end up at the bank, but you go into listen, money is important. So knowing the money is the money.
Yes.
You go to and how long were you at the bank?
15 years.
Girl.
15 years. And so my creativity actually didn't spark back until it was time to get married to my husband.
Really?
Yeah.
And what sparked?
So like doing the bridal shower. Like I know that was for like my bridesmaids and whatnot, but even just doing the invites, like
girl,
creating
I did not let my
those.
bridesmaids do anything.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all can execute, but this is Monique's show. This is the Monique show. Okay, we're gonna do this right.
And I even was entertaining DIYing my wedding, and then my planner, who happens to be my cousin, she was like, "You're not gonna have time." And then one of the decorators was like, "What do you?" I was like, "Fine,
so you do it."
I did other aspects of it, so that started, and then we had kids, and then birthday parties, and so that's how it started to just spark my interest in being creative again and being crafty again. And so that led to a little ways down the line, me being discovered by Cityline.
So how did that come about? Because I'm always very curious. How did they discover you?
I just leave it up to God, to be honest with you. That's a show that I had never thought that I would be on. And from the work that I was doing with the backdrops, I actually got in one of the moms groups on Facebook. I had met a mom in there. So Camille Dundas. You know Camille? So I met Camille. And so Camille asked me to do a couple backdrops for her kids' birthdays. So I did that for them. And then I also did some backdrops for the ByBlacks when they had events in person. And then one of the parties, Tracy had seen my decor, right? Also in parallel, at my girls' school, one of the moms was also a DIY expert on the show as well. So she had a call out, and it's so funny because a mutual friend of ours who's also had a child at the school, she's like, "Oh, Denise is looking for someone to help her on do craft stuff." So we started talking, and then she's like, "Okay, I have a Cityline segment coming up. Can you help me out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so helped her out, and she's like, "Do you want to come to the show with me?" And I was like, "Oh, sure."
Oh, sure.
And then I was like, "Oh my gosh." But at the same time, I was not comfortable with being in front of a camera. I was very camera shy. Even the things that I was posting online, it was really the backdrops and the kids. You would rarely see me because I was just not comfortable in that space. And so when I went to the studio, one of the producers saw me, and she's like, "Have you ever been on camera before?" I was like, "Nope, and I have no interest." And she's like, "You need to be on television." And I'm like, "I'm good."
Wow.
And so I was on the show a couple of other times supporting Denise. And then they're like, "You need to get on the show." And I'm like, I'm still like, no.
That's so funny because I see you there and I'm like, you're such a natural. Like, it's so funny to me that you're like, no, not me, someone else.
So then Tracy emailed me personally, and I'm like, "Oh gosh."
And she was like, "Look, enough.
Right.
No more playing coy. That's enough."
Yeah, and so that's how I ended up being on the show. I started doing with the DIYs, and then it grew from there. I started doing more lifestyle things, so tablescapes, I would do art pieces. And my most recent, I did a fashion styling segment for Black History Month. So
and boom.
That's kind of like it. So I'm now a lifestyle expert on the show.
Oh my God. I love that. The journey.
Yes.
And it brings us to the magazine and you being the art, the creative eye behind all of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if you could describe like the magazine for the people. Like what is the feeling that you're trying to evoke by when we were, I know it's digital, but I also like to think of it as like, if it was in hard copy and I picked it up and I saw it and I flipped through the pages, like, what do you want people saying about this piece of art that you're putting out into the world?
I want people to, the feeling that I want to generate is happiness, joy, inspiration, even surprise. Because I feel like there are a lot of beautiful things and amazing things that we're doing, but because unfortunately some of our communities are kind of like in these bubbles, we may not know what other people are doing. And awareness is what I want to generate from that. Like the reason why I talk about that too is some of the fashion designers that I profiled on Cityline, they're talking about how a majority of their business is actually outside of Canada. And it's like, and they're like, they feel like they're not even seen or honored by their own home country. And it's just like, what? How is that? And your brand is amazing. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's an awareness thing, but having those conversations, supporting us here, because when they don't get the support here, that's when they start going to the States and getting the love there, when we really need to be getting the love here. So that's what I want to generate, that joy, that sense of pride. And then I also want to provide an example. Being a mom of 2 young girls that are growing up, right? Thinking about me when I was their age, or even as I was a teenager, for example, all of my reference points were American.
Yep.
All of them. I had no Canadian experiences to look up to aside from my family. And that was it. There's like shows like The Cosby Show, Fresh Prince, but again,
nothing here.
There was
nothing here.
And Hype Hair, any of the magazines,
yes,
they were all girl. The Hype Hair.
Oh my gosh, yes,
like those types of magazines.
Stacks
of those types of magazines. They were all based in America. So that's what you were looking for, and that's almost like what you're like, oh, I want to be that type of woman, right? But being able to live in the US and living here in Canada, we have different ways of responding to things. We think about things different. Our mentality is just different from an American woman, for example. And so having a publication and having a platform where it's really from our voice, and also, again, something that our young girls can look in and seeing examples that they truly can aspire to be. It's like, so the work that we did with Alpha Cap Alpha, for example, on the nonprofit, we would go out and we would help like with resume writing, for example. And I will never forget, we went to an area in Scarborough, and so we had the workshop about resume writing. And when we all presented ourselves, one was the head of guidance, the other was a educator at U of T, and then there was me. And then the girl was like, a young Black girl, she was like, I had no idea you guys existed. I thought I was really just supposed to have babies and just stay on welfare here, because that's what her mom did. And she's like, yeah, I got to get a job so I could take care of my family. But I'm like, what? So it's like they don't even have the exposure. And this was many years ago, and I know things have changed. But still having something, and I do aspire to have this in print at some point. I know print, there's
you're dealing in,
but I love like an actual physical copy of a magazine. That's me personally.
Me too.
But at least having a platform that is dedicated to Canadian Black women is the key.
And you make such an important point about it's the high, and this is what really drew me to your project in general was like, it's for the us now, but it's really for the generations of later, and I was like, oh my God, so choked out. I was like, she has daughters and this totally makes sense and they're going to look in it, and I'm like, that is such an important mark to make in the world, right? So who wouldn't want to be a part of that? And I just want to touch on what you were talking about where, especially in Toronto, I can't speak to all across Canada. And I know as the magazine grows, you're going to learn so much more about the Black Canadians across the country because they all have a unique lived experience as well. But one thing I've heard, and I'm just going to get your opinion on it, I'm not going to necessarily say I agree with it. I've witnessed some things, I'm not going to say I agree with it, is there are these bubbles, you call them. Some people call them cliques. Some people say, there's a very much like, we've got these groups and we kind of like stick to each other. So I love to see that all the community is coming out and supporting this, but I'm curious on your opinion of that. Is that something you think is an issue? Is this something that we can change?
So the cliques bit, and yes, I have heard it to refer to as that. Have I seen it? Have I experienced it? I can, for me, I can honestly say I haven't. I don't know if it's because
you're so well liked.
Right.
Or like everybody kind of likes you. I'm quite friendly, so I kind of move, and I also move my way into. I'm like, I'm here.
And there's times that I'm just very aloof to things, right? And I'm just like, I
think that serves you well, honestly.
So, but I've had conversations where it has been repeatedly brought up. So I'm like, okay, it's almost like, not sure if this is a great comparison, but it's almost like some people who may say, oh, because I haven't experienced racism,
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, but that's not the case,
right?
So it's like that type of situation, right? So there are many people who have said that to me, and that's what prompted me to now start asking these questions more and more. I'm like, because I'm like, why do we really feel like we're supporting each other within the community? Do we feel? And some women say yes, some women say truly no. And it's because of that. A lot of familiar faces are in the same spaces repeatedly. And it's like, there's no new ones coming up. And so that's where I'm like, I'm hoping, again, with this being able to give that platform with us to kind of bridge that and, make connections. If people are having events, let's put it out there. Let's support each other. Because that's where we really need to start supporting. There's so many things that I've heard, like I hear about, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's either the next day or the day after.
Me
and it's
too.
Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, I would love to support that. And it's unfortunate because I'm like, oh, there's no like one resource that can tell me what's happening.
You know, like the hub. And this is what I think byHER magazine is going to be the thing.
It would be a hub where we can say, this is happening here and this is happening there. And that way people know, so there's no excuses now. Yeah. We have to support each other.
I totally agree with you. And I think too, like I heard this very interesting thing on Instagram. Eleanor Beaton is a business coach. She studies a lot around like how men do business, how women do business, and she's like, honestly, she's like, if women did, like if we supported each other the way men support each other, we would run this joint, like no word of a lie. And I think that we just, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but I'm just like, Toronto is GTA, right? Like there's like, everyone lives far apart. It's hard to get together sometimes. And then when you do, you see them at the event. And I think that sometimes when you are doing something and you don't feel enough people came out, it like perpetuates that thinking, but maybe there wasn't an awareness thing, is my point. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, we don't always know what's going on. So maybe people did want to support you, but then they found out too late because they live 2 hours in traffic away from you, So anyways, that's just my own thought on that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe they just couldn't get there, But I love the idea of, byHER being a place where we know what's coming up. We know what's going on. We see some new faces with stories. And that was one of the reasons this series I wanted exists, because I'm like, let's tell the stories of all kinds of women from all over the country, right? I want to learn about more people too and what they're doing. So I love that. So you're doing a lot. You wear a lot of hats. You're running this on your own. We need to talk about this fake word called balance, first of all, okay? It is not a thing, guys.
Right.
It is not a thing. And how do you balance it all? I don't know. Like, what, tell me about this. I mean, everybody wants to know. I'm a new mom, as you know.
Yes.
I have one, you have two. And every time I call you, you are either on your way to an event, on your way back from an event, or getting ready for an event. And I'm like, or doing it with the kids. Yeah. I'm like, how do you do all of these things and keep your wits about you?
Oh my goodness. Girl, I'm hanging on by a thread. I'm not even gonna lie. No, but the major thing, and this is what people don't always see when it comes to balance, it's the support system. Jason is super supportive. And this is where, like, and this goes back to even pre-children, if you will, or when we were starting to have the family, we were living in Midtown, like North York area, Baby Village. That's where we lived after we got married. We were there when we had Savannah, and then there was this house out in Ajax. And so my parents lived in Whitby, and so we're expanding our family. I'm like, the condo is just not working.
Was it hard for you to move to suburbia from Midtown?
It was. I did not. I accepted it, of course. I was like, I want to stay. But the houses, like the prices out there at that time, they're like mint compared to now. But we're like, okay, you know what? Let's move to Ajax. And so we did. And that move just was invaluable. Because my parents my mom subsequently retired. My dad was already retired. And now with them just being so close and them still, like, if I need them to pick up the girls from school, if they need to take them up from dance, thankfully they still drive. And then we have Jason's mom, who literally lives next door.
Oh my God.
Literally.
I love it. My mom, oh my God.
Yes. And so it's literally, you guys want to go to grandma's?
The village.
Yeah. Walk on over. I'll look out the door to make sure you get in. Like, that type of thing. And she helps with cooking. Like, so that is something that has been extremely helpful with this. And so when you talk about balance, there's still a lot of late nights, of course. I had to leave my full-time job. Honestly, if I was still working full-time, this could not have happened at all, because I was already drowning pre-magazine, which led me to leave under the persuasion of my husband, the ultimatum of my husband.
When you told that story, like, I was just so moved. Like, to have a supportive spouse and partner, it's everything.
And you think he could do it all. And that's another thing that I learned through this process, is giving myself grace. I'm out here trying to do something positive for the community. I know that. And it's going to come in God's time. I can't run myself into the ground, because it's just not going to support the community. It's not going to support the magazine. So giving myself grace during this process. If I can't get something done, it's just, I have to just get the sleep, or I have to, eat this food. That's what I try to do my best. Obviously, I'm working and meeting the deadlines that I need to do, and so on and so forth. But giving myself grace has been the biggest thing. And also giving me time to feel, like, for example, we had, like, last week was, or the week of the dinner and everything, that so many things were happening within that week. I had the dinner, I had City Line the next day, I had another panel.
I was like, I don't know how you're doing all of this with the dinner. I'm spending the week trying to figure out what to wear to your dinner. Right. And you're doing. I was like, what do you mean you're doing this before that? I said, and I'm just like texting like that. I said, you know what, Monique, you should leave her alone. She busy. Okay.
And so that's where, the community coming in and helping has again allowed me to be able to at least have a sense of balance and control. But I truly don't think, like, balance, the word that you meant, like,
I like the word rhythm. You kind of get into a rhythm of the things. There's ups and ebbs and flows and all the things.
Right.
But I don't know what balance is.
I know. And I do try to get as much balance as possible. And what I was saying before, like I had so many things going on last week that unfortunately in the moment, it was so overwhelming at the dinner and post dinner with all the support. I couldn't even articulate the emotion I was feeling because I was so happy. I was happy. I was proud. I was joyful. Everything ran smoothly and perfectly. I couldn't ask for anything else last week to run any better. And I'm just like, I couldn't really feel it until this week.
It's hard to feel it in the moment.
Yeah.
Like you've been planning.
Yeah.
You're prepping, being there. You got to greet people.
Yes.
And listen, no one would have known any of the feelings you were feeling while you were there because you were all of the epitome of grace, darling. You know, and I just remembered like just seeing all your emotion when you thanked people. Like it was I felt it being very emotional too. I was like, all these people support mom and dad are here, AKAs are here, you know, and all the people who had, you know, helped sponsor the different parts of it to make it happen too. And it was beautiful. Yeah, so you should really feel proud.
I was very, very proud. And it's just like, it just solidifies that this is the right thing. And it also created a sense of accountability now. I've put this out.
It's girl, people be watching. We're watching now.
Because it was just chatter before. And now it's like, yes, it's for real now. So, yeah.
Oh my God. I love putting a deadline on something to make it for real, right? It makes us act like in a whole different way.
Right.
So I would love to know, like, if for people who are listening and other people who will later watch this, read about this, or listen to this, what advice would you give to another woman who there's a dream she wants. Yeah. There's a thing she sees. God be tapping her.
Yes.
Be like, you know, be tapping her.
Yes.
And she's still not making her move because of judgment, imposter syndrome, all the things. Like, what would you say? What would you say to her?
First, ensure that she has a supportive community around her. I think that's the biggest thing that motivated me to push forward with that. Also, to do it, still do it. Do it. Don't let those things stop you from doing it. Surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself and do the research. If you're trying to start something, whatever the field that it may be in, do your research in that area. Become as much of an expert as you possibly can, because then that gives you that confidence.
Confidence comes in. Confidence.
It gives you that confidence for them to move forward. And that's where I appreciate my time in corporate worlds to give me that understanding of what the key factors are needed in running a business. Even though I was working and I was running a team, I still know what elements that I needed.
Yeah, you know all the pieces.
Right. I know all the pieces, right? So now it's just the transference of knowledge, right? And applying it. And so research, become that expert in the field, surrounding yourself with the positive people in your mind. Because there will be the doubters.
Oh my God.
That will also try to deter you from doing it.
Yes.
And I don't know, for me, I find that you got to put in work. There are going to be some late nights, and you have to be willing to put in the time. You're going to have to be willing. When you look at all these greats, whether it's basketball players or whatever, they put in time. They're in the gym, like time. You may have to sacrifice some social time with friends, like that type of thing. But if you're laser focused, it's going to happen. You need to be laser focused on what you want to do.
I love that you put that piece in about you got to do the work.
You got to do the work.
You can't just be dreaming and praying.
Right.
Right? Because sometimes people think, well, I've been praying on it.
Yeah.
And I've been dreaming about it. But it's in action that things happen.
Yes.
Whether you go the right way or the wrong way, you meet the right person or the wrong person.
Right.
But if you're standing still, nobody can help you do jack.
Right. No.
You can't help yourself and nobody else can help you. So I love that you had talked about earlier just about, you started telling people about it. And I think that's like super key. Regardless if you thought people might steal the idea. And I always will say, like, if you don't move on it and someone else does, it wasn't meant for you. Right. Right? But you were telling people. So it's like, once you tell people, it makes it even more real. Yes. Right? Yeah. And that's what you did. Yeah. And I'm just so proud of what you've accomplished, of being on this journey with you. I just had such a great I do a lot around, like, I make moves a lot when it has to feeling.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it all the time, but I always like to move when the inspiration strikes.
Yes.
And anytime I hadn't, I regretted it. And when I saw you post on Instagram, and Instagram's algorithm don't show you everything. Right. I don't always see your stuff.
Right.
I was like, something just sparked. I was like, this is going to be so juicy. It's like, you don't want to be later looking at it on Instagram. Right. Okay? How do you support this woman to make this the juiciest thing ever?
Right.
So the last thing I'm going to ask you is, if you could look into the future, we are 5 years down the line.
Okay.
What is byHER magazine now?
Oh, byHER magazine is the #1 publication in the community. And we are about to celebrate our big 5-year. I would love to launch a byHER Fest. So
girl, you know I'm thinking it. I'm already got the outfit, the planning, the hotel.
And that is just a celebration of all of us in Toronto. It will be in Toronto.
Take that, Essence Fest.
Yes, right. Yeah, and it just become that hub, and it's that hub for Black women to come to, for that inspiration, for a place for them to vent, a community for us, where now we can truly see ourselves in a place of joy. Yeah, that's what I see.
I mean, that's a perfect place to mic drop it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending this time with me. And you've got an army behind you and a village around you.
Thank you.
We got you, girl.
I appreciate you.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, boom. That's business is personal, y'all.
Yeah. Hello. All right.
All right. Let's go.